Hi and welcome to another narration, presented by yours truly, Cryptids Roost. Let's just take a moment's silence for all the haters. That's enough. Be sure to check out the blooper reel at the end of the video, which is then followed by the end screen where you will find more videos listed. So grab your coffee, sit back and enjoy the show. And don't forget, where fear is, happiness is not. Sliver, parts 5 to 6. This awesome series is written by Top Mind of Reddit. Part 5. I turned off my headlamp to conserve what little battery it had left. The darkness slammed shut on me. For that moment I was ensnared by it, as if the darkness was so powerful that I could actually feel it on my skin, all around me. I sat there in absolute black to gather my thoughts. I was at a complete loss of what to do. There was no ladder that connected this level to the manway of the upper levels, and there was no way up this chute. I had about 3 days left, I figured. In 3 days I would die of dehydration. I stood up and began walking, slowly, hand feeling along the cold stone wall, easing my foot out step by agonizing step. The absolute darkness made the space seem both smaller, more enclosed, but also more vast. I felt as if I reached my hand out I would not be able to feel the other side of the tunnel. Sometimes I could, but other times it was just cold and empty darkness. It was no use. The tunnels and walls just seemed to go on forever, and my heart raced with every unsure step that I took. The ground was becoming less even, and debris seemed to have become more prevalent. Easing my foot more carefully, I traced out a ledge in front of me. I kicked some rocks in. It seemed to be only a few feet deep, and then the smell hit me. It was an unfamiliar smell, but one that I've never come across this deep in a mine. Like old death, stale, mummified carcasses long dead and dried up, isolated from any natural means of returning its flesh to the earth. And it was coming from beyond the ledge before me. My knees began to give, as if my body was physically trying to keep me from going forward. I felt dizzy, intoxicated by the disorientating darkness exacerbated by that fetid stench. I had to turn my headlamp on, if only for a few seconds. I had to see what that smell was. Click! The dying light was so dim it seemed as though I were looking through smoke, but I could still see them. Bodies. Human bodies, dismembered in various ways and strewn across the pit. Skull fragments littered the tunnel from where I came like dead leaves on a forest floor. Dried grey skin stretched across silently shrieking skulls, each having an expression of absolute terror, peek out from legs, arms and torsos. I tried to back away, but my mind was breaking. Messages were getting mixed up. My body didn't know whether to run or stay put because I knew there was nowhere to go. I fell on my ass and continued to scoot away from the pit, sliding on broken skeletons as I did. I backed myself up against the wall and put my face in my hands. My sobs turned into screams, then into wretched groans echoing off the walls of this hell. I pulled myself to my feet and turned away from the pit to find a different route. I kept my headlamp on. I couldn't chance not being able to see, and I'd be able to move faster. But it did little to help my disorientation. Nothing looked the same upon a second glance. Parts of the stone wall seemed to move in the beams of my dim light. There were also artifacts here that I would have been thrilled about had the circumstances been different. Tools, tables, carts. Carts! If there are carts, there must have been rails leading back to the main shaft. The rails seem to be gone now, probably pulled up when they closed the mine. But if I look closely at the ground, I can see the grooves where they once were. I began to follow. My headlamp seemed to dim with every step I took as I traced along the grooves. Eventually I had to feel the grooves with my foot. I had silently agreed with myself that if I couldn't make it up or down from the main shaft, I'd just jump. I continued to slide one foot along and step with the other until I noticed that my step had become louder. I stopped and there was another step behind me. I slid and stepped, slid and stepped, then stopped. Another step fell behind me after I had stopped. Someone is in here with me, and they're following me. Part 6. I froze in my tracks, no pun intended. The once dead silence of the mine was now filled with the whooshing and thumping of blood and heartbeats. Every creak of my joints echoed off the walls now that my safety depended on my hearing rather than my sight. Try as I might to steady my shuddering breathing, there was nothing I could do to dampen the sound of my merely being alive. My headlamp had dimmed to the brightness of a lit cigarette, but instinct overrode logic and turned to face the direction that the sound of a footfall had come from. As you would expect, I saw nothing but black behind me, at first. After several minutes, I was tentatively convinced I was experiencing some sort of madness from my short isolation and visual deprivation. I took one more step, and then there was no doubt someone or something had stepped on a skull fragment several feet behind me, causing a snap to ring out. It might as well have been a gunshot. It seemed just as loud and caused an interruption of certain circulatory and nervous functions just the same. My head snapped again to look behind me, and that's when I saw two dim orange lights, reflections, like those of an alligator's eyes peering out from a black swamp, or a tiger's as it lay in ambush while the rest of its body remained invisible, perfectly camouflaged in the grasslands and darkness of a savannah night. Those two orange hints of eyes were all I could see, only reflecting back the same magnitude of light that my dying headlamp could provide. They were still, motionless, soulless and unblinking, surrounded in pitch black. The dark was alive, and it was watching me, following me. For a moment, my propensity for logic and reasoning offered an interpretation of the events transpiring. Perhaps Jim had found another way down, and he, just as panicked by seeing my own dim orange glow, was paralysed by horror. I should call out to him, I thought. "Jim," I whispered, "is that you?" Instantly shocked by my own words, their spontaneity frightened me in the absence of any other sound. How could I have just done that, I thought. Despite all the reasoning I had done prior, I felt that I had not thought the act through. Feeling my face growing increasingly cold from the lack of blood supplied to it, the darkness responded. "Jim," a whisper, raspy and dry, as if from wind blowing through dead leaves. "Jim, Jim, is that you? Jim, is that you? Jim, Jim, is that you? Is that you?" The voice seemed to me wholly unnatural, uncanny, and immediately triggered some sort of vestigial response in me. A response that made all of the events, details and circumstances leading up to this point suddenly important to me. I was several hundred feet below the Earth's surface, in pitch blackness, surrounded by hundreds of dismembered bodies, in an enclosed space shared with some abominable diversion of what I understood as the natural world, and nobody even knew I was down there. I would die if I didn't act soon. "Is that you? Jim? 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 Is that you? Jim?" The whispers continued. I ran. No longer concerned with the direction of tracks, I resolved to run in anywhere walls would allow. Arms stretched out in front of me, I ran blind with footsteps following behind me, now demonstrating the fall pattern of a four-legged creature. Growing closer, closing in. This was it, I thought. Glancing back yielded nothing, not even the orange reflections. My headlamp had completely died, and I would be soon to follow suit. I succumbed to the hopelessness. There was nothing I could do. There was nowhere I could turn. Cut and bruised from running into walls, dazed from cranial impacts from overhead beams, sick from the smell and unable to see, I was only prolonging my own demise and torturing myself with the constant rise and fall of hope. I stopped running, and so did the other footsteps. Out of breath and dizzy, I struggled to comprehend what was happening. The termination of pursuits was completely unexpected, completely surprised by my own resourcefulness. I remembered that I was in possession of Jim's Polaroid camera. The camera had a flash on it. I could see once and for all my surroundings, options for escape, and most importantly, the identity of my pursuer. Slowly I pulled one arm through the strap of Jim's backpack and quietly swung it out in front of me. Following the length of the zipper, I found the tab and began to open it. There was a quick scatter of debris from black, as if the darkness flinched at the sound of the zipper. I froze. But no sooner had the noise started, it had stopped. I continued to unzip. I reached my hand in and retrieved the camera, looped its strap around my neck and returned the backpack. Hand shaking and a trembling finger on the button, I raised the camera to my chest and aimed it into the void and flashed a blinding light throughout the tunnel. And I hope you all enjoy the blooper reel. The absolute darkness made the space seem both smaller, more enclosed, but also more vast. And it was coming from beyond the ledge before me. My knees began to give, as if my body was physically trying to keep me going, each having an expression of absolute terror peek out from legs. Arms and torsos. My headlamp had dimmed to the brightness of a lit cigarette, but instinct overrode logic and turned to face the direction that the sound. My headlamp had dimmed to the brightness of a lit cigarette, but instinct overrode logic and turned to face the direction that the sound of a footfall had come from. After several minutes, I was tentatively convinced I was experiencing some sort of madness from my short isolation and visual deprivation. For a moment, my propensity for logic and reasoning offered an interpretation of the events transpiring. The voice seemed to me wholly unnatural, uncanny, and uncanny and immediately triggered some sort of vestigial response in me. Slowly I pulled one arm through the strap of Jim's backpack and quietly swung it out in front of me. Hey family, please be so kind as to punch the like button and smack the ass of the subscription button as well. And remember to chokehold that notification bell and then select all. That way you'll see all notifications each time I upload a new video. And by subscribing you'll be the first to see all of our new spooky creepypasta stories. A very big thank you to Top Mind of Reddit for allowing me to narrate this awesome series. Be sure to check out Top Mind of Reddit's Reddit for more brilliant stories. Also be sure to check out the Top Mind of Reddit playlist here for more of their stories that I have already narrated. I would just like to say a very big thank you to all of the authors that I have worked with and all the ones that I will work with in the future. So thank you all, my brothers and sisters. And why not hashtag cryptidsroost in your comments. If you would like to support the channel, I have an account at buymeacoffee.com. You can send your coffee donations, big or small, to that site. Link is below. Or via paypal.me/cryptidsroost. You can also support us on Ko-Fi. It's an alternative to Patreon. The link for that will also be below. And don't forget to check out the end screen. See above? That will also link some more videos in my back catalogue. Take care everyone, and I hope you all have a wonderful and peaceful night. And don't forget, where fear is, happiness is not.